All right, Bernie Sanders calls out Elon Musk. I love this, by the way. This is the horseshoe theory in politics. You guys know what the horseshoe theory is? You go enough to the other direction and you start finding overlap and alliances with people you didn't think you'd have alliances with. So you got folks in the MAGA crowd that are further right than Donald Trump, further right than Elon Musk, further right than Vivek Ramaswamy, further right, who don't want any immigration.
Yeah.
And they are mad about H-1B visas, which, listen, flawed program, flawed system, has issues, needs reforms, potentially abused. Fair enough. Companies like Disney have been sued over it. Fair enough. But the folks on the right started calling them the woke right because it fell into this whole like, the system is rigged, everyone's against me, little man can't get ahead, yada yada yada. Right? That's been the narrative from the folks on the right, and then that turns up. And again, I'm not saying there's not real critique about this. Cut off your all or nothing brain rot. Right? Like there is critique about the H-1B visas, but when the critique becomes the government has their foot on my neck, and it's because of the immigrants that I can't get a job in STEM, even though half of our population majors in STEMs in comparison to China and India, right? That to me, I'm going to say it, this is going to hurt, sounds like a defeated victim mentality.
Yeah.
Which I expect from the folks on the far left.
Yes.
Right? So it's interesting that now Bernie Sanders is coming out, who, as far as I know, really believes the stuff he claims to believe. But now he's coming out and he's disagreeing with Elon Musk, and ironically enough, agreeing with people who we would say is on the far right or on the woke right or whatever you want to call them, the alt-right. Keep America first, America first jobs, white America, non-whites in America. We don't want your non-whites. You go back to your country. They don't want me here. They don't want Patrick Bet-David here. They don't want Iranians. They don't want Indians. Everybody go away. This is the horseshoe theory in real life where it overlaps. And it's fascinating to see this in real time. Oh my gosh. And this is where it gets us.
Nick Fuentes retweeting Bernie Sanders and being like, Bernie Sanders is right.
So Elon Musk is wrong. The main function of the H-1B visa program is not to hire the best and the brightest, but rather to replace good-paying American jobs with low-wage indentured servants from abroad. Now, again, Valuetainment did a breakdown of it. There's flaws in this thing. The cheaper the labor they hire, the more money the billionaires make. Now, by the way, I think people are also missing a macro issue that a lot of this is connected to the fact that we have a declining birth rate, and that in countries that have a declining birth rate, you know what you're going to do? You're going to need to either get people to have more kids immediately, or you're going to have to bring in some immigrants. The question is, what kind of immigrants do you want to bring in? Do you want to bring in highly competent, trained, STEM doctors, those sorts of folks? Or do you want to bring in low-wage workers that are coming here legally, probably don't want to assimilate, and, you know, they're bringing their ninja wife with their 7 kids, and they're not going to, you know what I mean?
That's crazy. 2 days in a row.
2 days in a row. So I'm excited to bring you guys our very first 3-day conference called the Bless God Summit, happening March 27th, 28th, 29th in Southern California. And at this conference, we'll have your very own Preston Perry.
Me as an evangelist, I've made it up in my mind that I'm not going to leave people with an excuse not to serve Jesus.
Dr. Sean McDowell.
If there's one thing Christians should care about, it's truth.
Our vision with this conference is to equip, empower, and inspire people to do the work of the ministry that God has for them in this time. And at this conference, we'll have your very own Alan Parr and his wife, Jim Parr.
The number one reason, people want to get divorced because they want to find someone else who can make them happy. Now, what they don't realize, they're chasing the wind.
John McCrae from What Do You Mean?
What you may be shocked, or you may not be shocked to know, is that the majority of Christians in America, they don't know how to articulate the message of the gospel to non-believers.
Lila Rose.
Love and marriage go together, that sex and marriage go together, that sex can bring life into the world, and that's an amazing thing, that's not a bad thing.
Trizzle Fitness.
Most people fail at dieting because they're just trying to lose weight too fast. What are you in such a rush for?
But where a lot of people get stuck is figuring out what it looks like to walk in that. And so these 3 pillars of our conference will be covering everything from apologetics to family in the home and the marketplace, and how you can lean into those 3 pillars to discover your calling on this side of eternity. The fact that Nick Fuentes and Bernie Sanders agrees on this is very interesting. Now, they got different motivations for why they agree on this, right? But it's the horseshoe theory of the American first model. The question is, who's American first, and can we use people from other parts of the world? And what is our history with immigration? And is there a reality where we need some good immigration? And as an immigrant, guess what? I got a dog in a fight.
Boo.
I want to see more competent, qualified immigrants that are willing to assimilate and are bringing value to this country. And some of our biggest companies,
you wouldn't have even been able to make it based off of that.
No, I wouldn't have.
You were just trying to.
Well, we were refugees, so we didn't come here on an H-1B visa.
I got no college education. I'm 6 years old.
Nothing. And I'm glad that we got to come here.
Yeah, hello.
Right? He says, Elon is wrong. The main function of the H-1B visa program is not to hire the best and brightest, but rather to replace good men. Then he put out a statement, we need major reform in the H-1B program, which I would agree. I think I said that in the last video. We probably do need some reform in the H-1B program. In 2022, 2023, the top 30 corporations using this program laid off at least 85,000 American workers while they hired over 34,000 new H-1B guest workers. There are estimates that as many as 32% of all new information technology jobs in America are being filled by guest workers. Further, according to Census Bureau data, there are millions of Americans with advanced degrees in science, technology, engineering, and math who are currently unemployed in those professions. Now, if that's true, I would like to see data on that. And if that's true, I would concede that that's wrong. If there's millions of people who have degrees in STEMs and it's to no fault of their own, they can't get a job. And because of these folks that are being brought in, that is wrong. If there's really a shortage of skilled tech workers in America, why did Tesla lay off over 7,500 American workers this year, including many software developers and engineers in its factory in Austin, while being approved to employ thousands of H-1B guest workers? Moreover, if these jobs are only going to the best and the brightest, why has Tesla employed H-1B guest workers as associate accountants for as little as $58,000, associate mechanical engineers for as little as $70,000 a year, and associate material planners for as little as $80,000 a year? Those don't sound like highly specialized jobs that are for the 0.1%, as Musk claimed this week. So Bernie's coming with the receipts. So Elon needs to address this.
Yeah.
Give us what is the explanation of this? Are you really firing people that their worth is $70,000 a year, $80,000 a year, and bringing in someone
to do $58,000
to $58,000 a year? That's wrong. If that's what's happening, that's foul, and that shouldn't happen, and that's not fair to Americans or the people that are coming over.
Yeah.
Right? Let's be clear, to the extent that there may be labor shortages in our country and some highly specialized areas that need to be filled by employees from abroad through the H-1B program, we must utilize this program as a very short-term and temporary approach. In the long term, if the United States is going to be able to compete in a global economy, we must make sure that we have the best educated workforce in the world. Now, again, why don't we have the best educated workforce in the world? Is it because of our culture? Is it because of the brain rot? Is it because of the iPad kid? Is it because of the video games? Is it because of parents wanting to check out? So we could talk about this, but I think the issue with Bernie is that he's not going to go back to the individual and the family in the home like Vivek did.
I see what you're saying.
He's going to go back to it's the system. The system is rigged. You can only do so much to fix the system. Even if everything he's saying is right, he still has a wrong conclusion on how to solve these things. You can't use government to change culture. Culture's from the bottom up, not the top down.
Y'all wanted feminism.
Right? Y'all wanted feminism. Straight up. And one way to help make that happen is to substantially increase the guest worker fees larger corporations pay to fund scholarships. Totally with it. Increase them fees if you want to increase them fees. Right? Apprenticeships and job training opportunities for American workers. This is something that I've advocated from my first day as a U.S. senator. Further, we must also significantly raise the minimum wage for guest workers and allow them to easily switch jobs. Yes, well, and I'm with that, by the way. They should be allowed to switch jobs. Crazy. And make sure that corporations are required to aggressively recruit American workers first before they can hire workers from overseas. The widespread corporate abuse of the H-1B program must be ended. Now, again,
the only way
I think everybody would agree with that.
The only way that the H-1B visa program would be able to keep workers at a lower wage is because there's no competition, because they can't bounce to another company that's going to pay them more. So, which is why the Americans chart or cost more, right? That's pretty much it. There's no competition when it's H-1B visa.
Yeah, absolutely. Go to the next slide. Mr. Musk, Mr. Ramaswamy, and others have argued that we need highly skilled and well-educated workers. They are right, but the answer, however, is not to bring cheap labor from abroad. The answer is to hire qualified American workers first and to make certain that we have the education system that produces that kind of workforce that our country needs for the jobs of the future. And that's not just engineering. We are in desperate need of more doctors, nurses, dentists, teachers, electricians, plumbers, and a host of other professions. Again, make those jobs popular. That's not going to come from the government. That's going to come from the bottom-up culture. So he's completely right in his assessment. He's completely wrong in the root causes of that. The root causes of this is culture. It's not the immigrants' fault. It's culture. It's American culture. American culture has to change. It has to evolve. 30 years ago, the economic elite and political establishment of both major parties told us not to worry about the loss of blue-collar manufacturing jobs that will come as a result of the disastrous, unfettered free trade like NAFTA. They promised that those jobs would be more than offset by the many good-paying white-collar information technology jobs that would be created in the United States. Well, I can't speak to those jobs. According to Bernie, that is a lie. Big lie, he says. Not only have corporations exported millions of blue-collar manufacturing jobs to China, Mexico, and other low-wage countries, they are now importing hundreds of thousands of low-paid guest workers from abroad to fill the white-collar technology jobs that are available. At a time of massive income and wealth inequality, when the richest 3 people in America now own more wealth than the bottom half of our country, and when the CEOs of major corporations make almost 300 times more than the average worker, we need fundamental changes in our economic policies. We need an economy that works for all, not just a few. And one important way forward in that direction is to bring major reforms to the H-1B program. So that's Bernie Sanders' argument. I'm not mad at his argument. I think he has some good assessment. I think he has some wrong conclusions. But I think there is something to reform while at the same time addressing the root causes, which are cultural. They aren't surface level. They aren't, it's just a billionaire's fault. Now, billionaires are going to do what they're going to do. They're going to try to get the most amount of output for the least amount of pay. I think there's an ethical issue there. If you're a Christian, if you're a follower of Jesus, I don't think you can navigate that way. Here, we try to go above and beyond to give people the best health insurance, to pay people above market rate for what they do, to give them incentive packages, bonuses, so on and so forth. And I would hope that we would all want, as Christians, to do business that way. Now, again, none of these folks are Christians. Neither Elon, nor Vivek, nor Bernie are Christians. So they're not coming from a biblical worldview. Yeah, so the corporation model is going to be different than working for a small business. And it comes down to, what kind of work do you want to be into? You know what I mean? They already hire Americans. Only like 1% of legal immigrants are hired through the H-1B for decades. So yes, I understand that, and I would agree with you. And I think the issue is that Elon is arguing for more H-1B visas. Bernie is saying, hey, this is a conflict of interest for you to be so influential next to the president in saying these things. The culture should also change at the top level. Nursing and teaching are popular jobs, but many people are quitting as a result of bureaucracy and as more venture caps acquire hospitals. The culture should also change. Yes, it should change, Blair, but it's not going to. It's not going to until we start equipping people to think about their career paths as the ways to solve the most amount of problems. That's not going to change. Hey, thank you so much for checking out the video. Please be sure to comment below and subscribe and all that good stuff. And check out this other video that YouTube seems to be recommending just for you. Let me know if they nailed it. All right, I'll see you over there. Peace.